Oh, I was gonna say I went to work on Monday, and Noah also was there, and so we didn't have anything to do, and so we were watching movies. And I was like, we should watch Fight Club because I'm supposed to talk about it with my friend. And he's like, okay, I'll pull it up on my laptop. But what happened instead was he got distracted by another movie, started playing that one instead. I was like, we're not watching Fight Club. He's like, this one's good too. You'll like this one. I was like, cool.
Cool.
Um, and I did actually really like the movie. It's called American President. It's got Michael Douglas in it and Michael J. Fox. It's about an
Sorry.
American president, two of them, in fact, at least. There might be more. Who knows?
Well,
Um, uh, the president falls in love with a lobbyist and is dating her, and it's like, is it messing with his re-election campaign a little bit? Like, does he get to keep seeing her, or is he gonna have to break up with her? Um, and I liked it, and I thought it was really cute. Um, you know how much I'm always saying that people need to suspend their disbelief.
mhm.
I just have a really hard time believing that any American president is a good enough person that a climate change lobbyist would end up like getting with them, you know?
Yeah.
Time and again, the whole movie, they were like, he's a really good person and he's a good dad and he is noble and has integrity. I'm like,
Okay. A little
yeah,
heavy-handed on the propaganda there, but whatever.
yeah. I think I would have really liked it if I had watched. No, if I had watched it like in high school, you know, growing up. I was gonna say before I started working in politics, but it would have had to been earlier than that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I, if you can get past it, it's fun to pretend there could be a world where president could be a good man, but
Yeah, that's nice.
I dream. So anyway, the point of this is maybe Fight Club.
Okay. That sounds good.
Cool. I thought for a second that you were wearing a tie, and it's a sweater on top
It's
of
a
your
sweater,
shirt to make it look
because
like
it's
a
like a
tie.
V-neck sweater. Yeah, but
Hmm.
but Neil has worn this shirt before with a nice blue tie, like almost
Ooh,
kind of tie, so it really popped. That was very nice.
not cornflower boo. That's a reference to the movie.
Yeah, really Tuesday. He's wearing a blue tie. This is the episode that Ian said months ago. If you ever do one about Fight Club, I'll totally join because he's like a bro or whatever, apparently.
Yeah,
Totally. I mean, when you think bro,
I think Ian.
yeah, that's the first guy that comes to mind. Not his face though, because he's headless, but you know.
Famously, he is. Yeah, we all know this.
Yeah. So I was like, we're doing Fight Club if you want to join. And he was like, maybe. All like elusive about it. So
Oh yeah. Well,
um,
if he's a bro, you can't make a
don't get too
definitive statement
excited
about
because
it.
that's like for nerds or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I could just go because he does still live in this same building as I do. I could just go be like, knock, knock, knock. Join my Zoom link, please.
Woody, woody.
But
You could.
I could because he didn't answer my text that I sent him the Zoom link.
Mm,
So
hmm.
maybe perhaps push has come to shove. Oh, but I was going to do this, remember?
Oh
How
yeah,
have
I do.
headphones. So it's not just
Yeah.
totally cavernous sound here.
Yeah, I have my headphones here in my lap waiting to be put in my ears. The thing is Leo has like it's like a red tarp to a bull for Leo
Yes.
to see these headphones. He goes into a blind rage. He can't think about anything but eating those headphones so fast.
Well, I'll go be like, Ian, you're not doing anything. Be on Zoom. Ian,
Did he hear you?
do you want to be on Zoom with Whitney and we're talking about Fight Club?
I'm Whitney and we're talking about Fight Club. I thought American Psycho was like a really good film, but
Hmm.
not necessarily the most fun movie for me. I really liked the parts where Jared Leto gets smashed in with an axe. Obviously, that's great.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
pretty good scene. Pretty famous.
yeah, yeah, like there were a couple moments of like, it was fun, it was entertaining, but for the most part, it was like not my most ideal flavor of movie. This
Hmm.
one though,
There's not enough explosions.
In
not
this
enough
movie, there's
explosions.
explosions.
There's explosions. Yeah. Yeah. There's only one explosion in American Psycho, as far as I know, and we don't even know if that really happened.
Yeah,
So,
so not as much fun.
yeah, in terms of mentally unstable, unreliable narrator, main characters,
Mhm.
I, I really like this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, baby. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't watch American Psycho with my parents or like we were talking about a couple weeks ago with anyone else really without it
Uh-huh.
being really uncomfortable. This one though, really for the
Yeah.
I feel like the whole time I was like, I could probably watch this with somebody else. Yeah, I could do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've invented a new litmus test.
Would I watch this with another person? This movie, well, I feel like Ian just pretty much summarized it well already. It has Brad Pitt, it has Edward
Yes.
Norton, and Edward
Yep.
Norton is Brad Pitt, and that's the movie.
And that's so true. If you really think about it,
Yeah.
he makes some
Actually, if you
points.
think about it, that's so true. Um, I guess I could ask, well, we could do like an acronym.
We could. I was wondering if the ones because I came up with T and E, but I did think maybe these would be too easy.
Okay.
And I will
Too
say them to
easy,
you
is that
now.
it?
No, but that's fun. The
Yeah.
letters that I came up with were Tyler Durden and Edward Norton. And those were the letters. Oh, and
Mhm.
M could be Marla Singer. But
Mhm. That's her name.
that's her name. Yeah, for sure.
An
Oh,
S.
Soap.
Soap. Easy.
Whoa. Great.
We're quick with it. Welcome
You
to
are on
Women in
top of things.
STEM.
Hell yeah! I took my
Yeah.
Adderall today. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you. Please
Yeah.
stop.
I've been taking that for like 2 years, so I'm proud of you. Oh, I had a question, I think, for you
Oh, goody. Oh, boy.
about the movie even. I know.
Yes.
It was, at what point did you figure out that Ed Norton was Brad Pitt?
Okay. So I did go into this knowing already.
Mhm.
I don't know where I picked up on the knowledge. It to me is on the level of like I knew that Norman Bates was the set, like I don't remember learning it. I just feel like I've like always known. So it was really fun to go
Right.
through it
It's like
and look
in your
for all
blood.
the like little yeah, it's in
Yeah.
there for sure. Actually, it came up on my last blood test. Everyone was a little bit confused about it. They were like, Tyler Durden isn't even a result. Why did it come up like hello? But I will say that I did forget
Nice.
for a decent amount of the movie because, and I'm sorry to keep doing this. I'll stop doing it when it stops being true. I was like, they should, and you'll have to bleep this for my parents who watch this. They should have gay sex. They should bleep and bleep and bleep and bleep and
Mhm.
bleep. Do
Yeah.
like I was
I mean, yeah, they should. Well, in the whole movie,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, how are they not, frankly?
yeah.
Brad Pitt is never wearing underwear in the whole
No.
movie, and you can tell because he wears his pants low.
And yeah, a little tight. Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's a
This is
scene
right.
absolutely, and we thank him for it. This is 1999 Brad Pitt. He's fresh off the wild success of Meet Joe Black.
Mhm. Everyone's agreed upon best Brad Pitt role in his most famous movie of all time,
Yeah,
Meet
and
Joe
actually,
Black,
I learned that it was
with Claire
while
Forlani.
making-
Everyone knows and loves
and
that movie
Anthony
more
Hopkins.
than any other movie.
We've all seen it, literally. I learned that while making that movie, he decided to do this one. So everyone say out loud with a hand over your heart, "Thank you, Meet Joe Black."
You Meet Joe Black.
Yeah. And feel that, like, feel it in your
Yeah, like
chest.
how people really, really want children to internalize the Pledge of Allegiance. That's how you should feel about Meet Joe Black. To be part of your national identity.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't know. there's also a scene where they're like Brad Pitt is fully naked in the tub. Edward Norton's having a shit. They're just like having
Mhm.
a chat with like an old married couple, and I was like, I don't even th
Yeah.
like I don't think I've seen actual married couples be willing to do that. Like that's a little, yeah,
Hmm.
but
Yeah. But it's fine. That's just how they are. And I
yeah,
do like that he gets so mad. Like he hates Marla for essentially no reason. Like for a reason, but not a good one. Like hates
yeah,
her. And then he's like, then she started hanging out with Tyler. And he's so jealous of the time that she spends in bed with Tyler. And you're like,
yeah,
huh, why do you feel so strongly about that?
yeah,
Like she's getting in the way
fascinating.
of the potential sexual relationship that he could have had.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
so mean to Marla. None of this ever bleeds over into his relationship with Brad Pitt. So yeah, it's pretty
yeah.
clear who the target of his ire is.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Pretty simple solution to that problem. If it weren't for the fact
they
that
should
they
bleep. And
they should.
yeah.
Yeah, I also read, and I don't know if this is common knowledge. I just learned it tonight. But that the author didn't know that they were going to be the same person while he started writing the book. But then, like halfway through, he's like, they kind of act like one person. That'd be kind of a
Mhm.
fun twist. And so he wrote it in then, and I like that because I like the idea that an author can, change plans when they can, they are learning from their story as much as they're writing it, and I think that's cool.
Mhm.
Um, and I also think that there is a reality where they are not the same person, and then they can bleep.
Mhm.
So
A beautiful alternate universe.
yeah.
Ian, when did you say that you figured out the twist? When it was revealed? Yeah. Well, you were a little baby 18-year-old 10 years ago, so.
Lame.
He says, I think on a rewatch it would probably be better and more interesting.
It's true. Yeah. You pick up on all the little things
Hmm.
that are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The first moment where I remembered was one of it might have been just after Marla comes over for the first time, and she comes down to the kitchen and sees Ed Norton, and she's like, "Last night was crazy, right?" And
And
to
he's like,
him,
what are you doing in my house?
get out of here! I didn't give you my address. Go on, get. And she's like, "Okay, my gosh, funny."
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then Tyler's like, "Hey, don't mention me, by the way." And it's like, weird, interesting. Why? And then I remember
Hmm.
the knowledge that I already had.
Where you were like, oh, because he's crazy.
Super crazy,
Right.
insane person, famously.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I will say about Marla,
Yes.
I love Helena Bonham Carter in almost every role that she's in. And the second that she walked onto screen in this one, I I loved her. I do. And that's all. It sounds like I was leading up to a, but I'm not. I
Yeah.
love her.
It did sound
That's
that. It was
it.
like a nice little bait and switch there.
Yeah. No, she walks
Yeah.
in that long coat, just chain smoking about 50 packs a day.
Hmm. Which is awesome because she's going to all these like cancer,
Yeah, I did like the
like
line where she's like, I went to the tuberculosis one and my smoking didn't really fly over there. I thought that was pretty funny.
it was funny because it's like all the people with cancer find it okay.
Yeah, not TB though.
The TB, they're like, you crossed a line.
No, I love her. I love that her makeup looks bad. Like she hasn't slept in her
Hmm.
whole life
And probably her
ever.
whole life. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
She's
liked that.
fantastic.
I think just the like before you get really caught up in like the Fight Club not even just being at the bar, but being at several major cities in the entire
Yeah.
United States, like you get really caught up in that. But just the initial conceit of the movie being like, I have insomnia, so I started going to
Support groups.
group support group counseling so that I could let out my emotions and sleep better. and then I got addicted to support groups. That alone is like the funniest movie I've ever seen.
And then he becomes so angry at someone doing the exact same thing that he's doing. He's like,
Yeah.
"You're a fake. You're a fraud. I'm going to expose you." She's like, "Calls coming from inside the house, bitch." Which,
Mhm.
if she had said that, can you imagine? That would have been
Yeah, it would have
insane.
it would have imploded his whole face. He's
Yeah.
like, you disappear.
Yeah.
So it'd be a shorter movie, but yeah, but I do like that he's like, you're ruining this for me because now I have to think about the fact that I'm faking all the time, and it's stressing me out, and I can't have legitimate emotional outbursts anymore. And she's like, what's wrong with you? It's so funny. Like if they had lingered more on that part of the story, I wouldn't have minded. It's very funny that they have to like have joint custody over certain support groups.
So funny. And the fact that she finds out that he hasn't been going anymore because she cheated. Like
Mhm.
I would have really liked to see loved the movie for what it was, but I would have also liked to see like a different alternate universe movie of like Tyler
Marla.
Durden doesn't really become a part of it. And yeah, maybe just Marla. She's cool.
Which cool. I would even watch like the exact same like point in their lives. Same story, Marla's
Just from
perspective.
her. That
So
would've
you
been
don't
neat.
see Brad Pitt in the movie, which is kind of a bummer, but then it's also like it really just shows how deeply, deeply unhinged Ed Norton is in the movie.
Yeah. And he does a really
Yeah.
good job. I've heard the name a lot before, but until I watched Glass Onion, I had never seen him in a movie. Like,
Mhm.
not that I remember anyway. And so I watched Glass Onion. I was like, oh, this is that Fight Club guy everyone's talking about? Yeah, no, he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
And now having watched Fight Club, I was like, yeah, wow,
Yeah.
he's really super crazy.
He's good. He should have
Yeah.
been the Jared Leto of the 10s and 20s, you know?
He should have. Yeah. And maybe it's good that he didn't because then he didn't become like a villain in real life.
Ed Norton was supposed to be the Hulk.
And in the first Hulk movie, what?
In the first Hulk movie, he was. And then
Oh my
what?
gosh.
You know,
It didn't do well. The movie didn't do
No,
well.
it
he was
sucked.
like,
Yeah.
I'm so I'm gonna rewrite this whole
Interesting.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
He says, quote, he was like, I'm Ed Norton, MFs. I'm gonna rewrite this whole movie. And they were like, okay. And then it didn't do very
did
well.
bad?
So, yeah.
That's funny. And a blessing in hindsight that his Marvel movie didn't take off because then he wasn't locked into a Marvel career for the rest of his eternity.
Of his life.
So
And
maybe he knew what
yeah,
he was doing.
he could see he was like the
He was
Oracle at
on the
Delphi.
web.
And he was like, yeah, he was
It's
on
like
the
Madam
web, the
Web.
Madam Web. And he was logging into the web, the Madam Web. And he was like, 20 years from now, do I still want to be playing this dumbass role? No. I have to stop this before it starts. Let me rewrite the script so it's
I'm Ed Norton.
worse.
Sweating bullets.
Yeah. I'm gonna rewrite this whole movie. Then he goes back into his trailer and is like, now I have to write a terrible movie.
Oh, life is beautiful.
Yeah.
So when did you first realize?
I don't know. I feel like it was there's like the scene. I don't know if this was the moment. I think it just kind of happened gradually to the point that when it was revealed, I was like, well, yeah, you know? But I
Uh-huh.
did really like the scene where he confronts his boss and he's like, listen, I'm going to be a consultant that doesn't come into work. And the boss is like, you cannot be a consultant that doesn't come into work. That isn't a job. And he's like, yes, it is. I just made it. And then he starts beating himself like,
For
oh, like he goes so overboard, hits himself in the face, and the boss is like, whoa, And then he starts yelling like, "Ah, unhand me, fiend!" Throws himself backwards into a glass table and shatters it. And then the
Why
little
did you do
voiceover,
that?
his little voiceover is like, "For some reason, it reminded me of my very first fight with Kyler." And it's like, why are you thinking about Tyler so much? But then it's also like, why are you fighting yourself and thinking about Tyler? You know?
Yeah, both of those things. Yay, hero!
Yes. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
no,
just like that
that's
scene a lot. It's so funny. The boss is like terrified, like doesn't know what to do. Edward Norton is beating himself within an inch of his life. Like,
yeah,
like to a
and
pulp,
like
he's breaking every piece of glass and then walking, like he's rolling around in it, so it's like in all of his body. And he's like, "Ah, let go of me! Ah, no!" Like, it's just really like so funny. And again, the whole conceit of the movie being, okay, he has insomnia, he goes to support groups, he gets addicted to support groups, and then suddenly he keeps coming in having beat the living daylights out of himself. Every single week he comes in, he clocks in, he's all like bruised. And this is the movie. It's the story of one guy having such intense insomnia that he kills himself in somebody else's basement every week.
awesome. Awesome.
Awesome. Awesome. I love the
Yeah.
part where the somebody walks in, he's like at his little desk and they go, "Is that your blood?" And he says, "Some of it."
He's also smoking.
As if that's cool. And I'm just like wildly unprofessional and also insane.
It's super insane. Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So I know the film is meant to be like a satire and a critique of like this macho, like hyper
Yeah.
masculine mindset. I
Yeah.
will say right out the gate that I want to join a fight club so bad, so
Mhm.
bad. I want to punch somebody within an inch of their life. I want to get punched within an inch of my life. I want to shake hands and then walk away. I've talked about this with my friend Al. Al, if you're watching, this
Hey,
one's for
what's
you.
up?
We have often talked about wanting to have like an acquaintance, someone that you know well enough that it's not like a complete stranger, but not someone that you see every day. You want like meet up with them in like
Not
a
somebody that you perhaps move into a dilapidated old building with them and share your life together and all your hopes and dreams. Maybe
something like
not
that.
that level.
Not quite that. Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, just like an
Interesting.
acquaintance. Yeah. But you meet up with them in a parking lot, you get into a fight for like a half hour, and then you shake hands and go home. That's it. Like just to get the wiggles out.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to start like a revolutionary cult or anything like that. Just to punch and be punched. That's it. And I again really like the movie. I like the message of it. Um, part of me wants to not examine it at a deeper level and just be like fighting good and just leave it at that.
Brad Pitt, beautiful. Fighting, cool.
Yep.
Explosions, cool.
Cool. Hello, Bottom Carter. Cool.
Cool. And that's
Okay,
the
see you
movie.
later.
And then you just imagine, like, once it's like all revealed and you have to go through all the other previous scenes in your mind or watch it again and be like, what was this actually like when it was just one guy? Because I love like the scene when they first go to the bar, they're like leaving, and Tyler is like makes him ask to stay at his place.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, really quick, can you punch me as hard as you possibly can? And Edward Norton, whose character does not have a name, by the way.
Yeah, and can I say it took me longer to like realize that than it took me to like remember that like we were back in with them at the building waiting for things to explode when I realized he never
Like, oh
had a
wait,
he had never had a name.
Anyway, I just love that scene. Like, he's like, punch me in the punch me as hard as you can, and he says, "What? Like in the face?" He's like, "I don't know. Surprise me. Just do it. Do it. Do it before I change my mind. Do it." Like, gets him in the ear and then gets socked himself right in the stomach. It's
Mhm.
awesome. It's like a really great scene where you're like,
Yeah.
what's better than this?
Just a
Just
couple of
guys
guys being
being
dudes.
dudes. Like it's awesome. But then it is
Hell
like you do
yeah.
think of, when people start seeing them fighting in the parking lot and start wanting to join in.
Hmm.
And that's just the one guy the whole time. I just think if I went out into a parking lot and I saw a man in a like very sincere like fight
Fight with himself.
with himself and like the other person like isn't there or like he's fighting an invisible man or something, I'd actually not want to join his club.
Yeah.
Like it would put me off a little bit. If I see two guys scrapping in a parking lot, I'm like, all right, I'm in. But just the
Hmm.
one guy and he's losing.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of a little bit
Can't do
is
it.
that scene in The Office where Dwight is doing like his karate seminar or something, and Jim is like, the biggest threat to you in this office is yourself. Like he would be your greatest opponent. Uh, who do you think would win in a fight? And then Dwight has to figure out a way in his head to beat the invisible opponent, which is himself, but also his invisible opponent, which is himself. He can't lose because that's Dwight. So then he
Mhm.
ends up just punching himself in the balls so hard. You always have the element of surprise.
You know that like when people are trying to be smart and clever and they're like, if you punch yourself and it hurts, are you strong or weak? Stupid question. But
Mhm.
if you if you beat yourself up super bad in a parking lot, are you Tyler Durden or Tyler Durden?
And
And then it's like, okay, now you've got me thinking.
I did like when that group of like 3 or 4 guys came out for their second fight and they were standing around
Mhm.
because at first I was like, it's just a couple of guys being in a fight. Because at this point I did not remember. So I was like, why are they like so confused? Like if you see 2 guys in a fight in a parking lot, the first thought I would think would be to like go and break them up a little bit. But they walk so slowly towards them and are like, huh? And then,
Yeah.
it makes
And then when you
sense.
remember, then you're like, oh, maybe because it was one guy. And he
Yeah.
somehow, like, I'm sure I didn't do any research about it. I'm sure that he had stunt doubles, because there's no way that they made him throw himself down that many flights of stairs, like, on his own. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But it is awesome. Like, he catches air. Like, every single time he gets thrown
Yeah.
back by an invisible force, like, he goes for it. He's like
Yeah.
jumping back. It's incredible. It's so impressive.
Yeah.
But then
And
it's
it's
also like, if you
awesome.
saw a guy doing that at a parking lot, would you not be like,
He's being beat up by a
what?
ghost.
Yeah, like
That
there's
would be my
definitely
first
another
thought.
person there. It's an invisible man.
Hmm.
And the invisible man is strong and beautiful.
Yeah. You can tell by the way he punches. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. The way that
Like,
other guy got
does
hit, I
that
can tell
guy
that the
kind of look
invisible
like
guy.
Brad Pitt? I can tell that the invisible guy kind of looks like one of the most notoriously beautiful men of all time.
Can I see chiseled
Sure.
abs? The
Whoa, hey,
glint of the
way
fluorescent
too
lights.
gorgeous over there. My gosh. Who are you, 1988 Alan Rickman? Shut up.
It is awesome because the practice that he has had in beating himself up like in his boss's office, he's like, I'm beating myself up. He's throwing himself everywhere. And you're like, yeah, he is catching air. He's going all over the place, slammed right into the bookcase. And you're like, yeah, he's really selling this. He's making this believable. Unfortunately, it is because he has had practice with himself beating himself up. And then later in the movie, when he is getting beat up so hard to death in a parking garage, it's like, oh
Mhm.
no, you've been practicing and that is to your detriment now, I'm afraid. Like
Right. Because
I like to see
now,
where
like,
he's got
your
his
alter ego is gonna kill you in real life.
yeah. You can't even escape by crawling under a van because you'll get pulled out so fast.
Yeah.
He'll
If
drag
the
you by the
ghost,
hair.
if the invisible ghost of Brad Pitt throws you down a flight of stairs in a parking garage, you die in real life.
That's true. Yeah.
Famously, everyone says that. It's from a movie. Different one.
Sinbad, I think. Brad Pitt was in that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Sinbad was the working title.
Oh my gosh, wait. On the note of the narrator's real name, I did learn that the author of the original novel wrote a sequel called Fight Club 2. Um,
Mhm.
and he did say that the narrator's real name was Sebastian.
No, it
Just
doesn't.
no, no! I don't think you could have come up with a worse name for like
Yeah.
it's obviously it works so much better with him never having a real name.
Yeah.
So like
Because then you
it's
never have to worry about
mhm.
that. Like, they never have to realize, oh, that's weird that we have the same name. Or he doesn't have to be like, lie. He lies about his name at the support groups.
Right, yeah.
And that's the only time that he ever gives a name, when he's
Mhm.
lying. Interesting.
Oh,
Sebastian.
fascinating.
No wonder he lied.
Yeah,
That's
what
like,
a nerd.
that's the name of a protagonist of a very different kind of movie. You know?
Yeah, like the protagonist of a John Green novel from 2012 or something. Yeah, no, I do not like that. I have seen some theories of people saying like I think his name is Jack because he always says like I am Jack's sense of envy or
Total lack of
whatever.
surprise. Well, but that's from the
Yeah.
newspaper
But that's
clippings,
from the
so.
thing. Yeah. I am Jill's nipple. Like that's a thing from the
Mhm.
movie. So like he's just
And
having
it
like a fun
is
little inside
funny, but
joke with
he
himself.
like will not let it go.
No.
Because
And
that's really how it works. Like when you have an inside joke and then suddenly years have gone by and you're like, why do we always say that so much? But it is just to himself and then sometimes to other people and they say, what?
yeah.
Because they weren't a part of that conversation. Because you know who was a part
No.
of that conversation? The
One
ghost
person
of hot
and one
Brad
person
Pitt.
only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, so the movie it's like a commentary about toxic masculinity and how men will go to insane lengths, intricate rituals to touch the body of another man, whatever, right? That's part of it. And then also it's interesting that these characters they put themselves up to be so like anti-consumerism, right? It's like you don't want to do all the shop at all the big box places and you don't want to have like all the credit card companies have control of your life, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But then the movie itself, like at the end of it, you don't feel anti-consumerism. So it's weird that that's like the message that the characters are trying to send, but it's not the message that you receive because they're bad at sending it.
Yeah.
That's not what the movie, like that's not the primary thing that you're supposed to take away from the movie. Like
Yeah.
in American Psycho, it might be. You're like, this guy's crazy. Because all he cares about is having the best, most expensive thing,
I
and it
want
tears his
to
life
fit
apart.
in.
And he's taking his bloody linen sheets to the dry cleaner.
It's cranberry juice, actually.
Yeah. Who's drinking that much cranberry juice? He spilled 5 gallons of cranberry juice on his sheets, and he's confused that the dry cleaner people haven't seen that sort of thing before. Everybody does that. He's crazy. And that's the message that you
Yeah.
get from the movie is like being so focused on like fitting in and like having the best things and having the most expensive things will tear your life apart and turn you into a terrible, terrible person who kills people and throws chainsaws at sex workers, which isn't
Yeah.
funny, but it's kind of funny.
If you're gonna throw a chainsaw at someone, let it be a Jared Leto. And if you're gonna
Hello?
throw a chainsaw at Jared Leto, do it while he's running away from you down a stairwell.
Yeah, and everybody's naked but wearing shoes. Because then you can't run as fast, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, I definitely
yeah.
agree. And like it's interesting because it's all, Tyler Durden, the character, before we realize he's the same person, he tells Ed Norton, like, be your own man, reject these ideas that someone else is forcing upon you. But then he essentially brainwashes everyone else in the Fight Club to reject everything else in their lives and only do what he tells them. Like Ed Norton says,
Right.
we eventually all become who Tyler wants us to be. So you're rejecting one like follower mindset by joining another
Immediately
follower
adopting another
mindset.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, except a worse one. Because like in anti-consumerists, being a consumer, it's like, yeah, you work all day and then you buy nice things and you're miserable and empty and whatever.
And you
But
have a
in
fridge full of
mine,
condiments but no food.
but no food. Well, and because you travel all the time, obviously you're not gonna have like. I'm like, that's not even the
Yeah.
worst thing we could be doing. But like,
Yeah, it's not even that bad. But then,
yeah,
yeah, but then, oh, if you join Tyler, you have so much freedom where you have to dress identically to everyone else. You
shave your
lose your
head.
name, you shave your head, you have no like goals outside of like perpetuating the mission.
Yeah, Project Mayhem, baby, which we
Yeah.
don't talk about.
No.
And also,
The first
you're
rule of
you're
Project
not a
Mayhem is
unique
don't ask
snowflake.
questions.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, it's so weird, like these kind of contrasting ideas where it's like the image of Tyler Durden at first, he seems so free. It's like he's wearing this flamboyant clothing and all the ladies love him and he gets to travel and he like works a couple of odd jobs so that he can really have his own schedule. Like he just seems like a very interesting person. Like you'd meet him at a party and be like, wow, that guy was like really unusual. Like he's really his own person. But then
Yeah.
more and more, like as the group gets more and more out of Edward Norton's control, it's it's in Tyler's control. Like quite a
Yeah.
quite controlled situation where there's like strict rules and everyone has to behave this way and everyone has to be involved in these illegal activities or whatever.
hmm
And which just goes again to the idea of like if we're talking about the toxicity in our social relationships, especially for men, I feel like a lot of people don't have, like, we don't see a lot of outlets for men that don't eventually lead to violence and or like strict regimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where we end up with people like Jake Paul and Andrew Tate, all people who are great models of behavior for our young, impressionable youth, as we all know. Yeah. I also like
Yeah.
in this satire that is meant to be critical of that mindset that the worst thing that Tyler Durden is planning to do is blow up a bunch of credit card companies and banks and
Mhm.
not even kill anybody. He's not even going for mass casualties. Like,
Right, he's going for minimal casualties. He's like, we're doing it when everybody's out of the building, even security.
yeah,
Like, we just want
everyone,
it to be about the company,
yeah, set
which is
everything at financial
fascinating.
ground zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Maybe, okay, listen,
listen.
maybe he did do that one thing. Like, who's to say? Just like, it just a nibble, you know?
Little
It
crumb.
just,
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like, it doesn't seem that bad. But at the same time, it's just preaching these like two very different stories of like, we're not trying to mess with any individual lives, we're trying to mess with the corporation. But then their
Mhm.
whole group, like the Fight Club, that eventually turns into like the Project Mayhem people moving into the home, like they lose their sense of individuality and they just become a conglomerate who is then trying to take down the conglomerate to help the individual people. So it's like make up your mind. Like what are your
Good
goals
point.
actually?
Yeah.
And it's because, there's Tyler and then there's Edward Norton and they don't communicate their ideas with each other. He's like, "What, you keep leaving me out? I'm not in the loop. I don't know what your plans are. And what if I don't agree with them? Like I was there with you. I started Fight Club too." And Tyler's
Mhm.
like, "You are literally so stupid. Open
Yeah.
your eyes."
You need to realize what you think you know about me is not the truth. And Ed Norton,
It's like whatever that
He's-
means. Why won't he sleep with me?
I mean, why is he sleeping with Marla?
Ugh,
I
I
don't
hate
know what
Marla.
is-
She's so brunette. Ugh. It's cool.
Yeah, no, that's a good
white
point.
and idiot.
I do like that Tyler Durden has prepped his followers enough to where they don't really seem confused by Ed Norton popping back up every now and then. Like, especially the scene at the car crash where
Yeah.
the two guys are just in the back, just listening. Clearly, they're he's having a conversation out loud in the front seat with himself. Funny,
Yeah.
but the two guys in the back are utterly unfazed by this. They only respond to be like, first rule about Project Mayhem, sir, is we don't talk about like that's
Mhm.
that's it.
Wait,
That's
don't
all they're
ask any
contributing.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not going to ask any questions. But Tyler Durden told them, "Hey, I'm gonna say don't do this at some point," and they were like, "You said you're gonna say that." Oh my gosh, you're literally, you crazy bitch. You told us this. We're gonna cut off your
Yeah.
balls.
Yeah. And he's like,
Please don't do that. They're like, you said you'd say that. Oh my gosh. Someone get the rubber band.
okay, fine. I am Tyler, and I'm calling it off. They said you'd definitely say that. Yeah. So
It's
wild.
awesome. It's awesome.
It's so funny. And it's even like if you haven't at that point picked up on it, you could just be like, wow, Brad Pitt's kind of evil. How did he how did he pull off going to all these places and being like, hey, this guy's gonna come in, he's gonna say all these things, it's fine. That's the real Tyler, you know? And I love the
Yeah.
idea of like, and people keep asking, like, have you ever met Tyler Durden? Like, I heard that he looks like this. I heard that he does this, like really blowing him out of proportion. It would have, and again, like you said, it would have been fun if the twist was different and they were two people the whole time, so that
Mhm.
they could bleep and maybe even bleep. But
Whoa.
I know.
Yeah.
But then if that were the case, I would love the idea of like Tyler Durden becoming like 10 different guys. And you just meet a
Ooh,
guy who like has a
yeah.
certain vibe about him. And they don't even like Ed Norton and Brad Pitt don't look that alike. So it's not like the people
Mm-mm.
who look most similar, you just assume are Tyler Durden. Like they look pretty
Mhm.
different. But he just walks in and all those people immediately know that's Tyler. I think it would be awesome if they just kept like Dread Pirate Roberts style, if they just had like several
Oh, yeah.
Tylers.
Yeah. Or
And
like what's
everyone, all the like lackeys just know when somebody walks into the building, they know which one is the real
is the
Tyler.
real Tyler.
I
That's
think that would have
cool.
been fun. Yeah.
I like that, like a Spartacus sprinkle in there.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh. Interesting. I
Except
like that.
that I especially liked that Edward Norton didn't choose to be Tyler. Like it was like he goes to all these places and they're like, "You were here last week, sir." Wink, and he's like,
Yeah.
what?" Like he's
The reality of
genuinely a
Tyler
little bit
Durden was
terrified
thrust
about it.
upon him.
He's like, "I don't understand it." Hey, well, I would never say that. I would bleep that out.
No, that's awesome though.
Yeah. Like you just pick a guy and be like, that's the next Tyler. We're gonna get him. We're gonna make him think he's so crazy. And everyone's gonna love it.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yes.
I love that like you get little flashes of Tyler Durden before he actually shows up in the show. And like you see him walking through the airport, you see when he's at the doctor, just a flash of beautiful Brad Pitt behind the doctor. I really like that Ed Norton doesn't react. That's not how I would have acted in that situation. I would have been like, whoa.
Oh my gosh, is that Brad Pitt?
No
way.
Awesome.
Can I have
I
your
also thought that
autograph?
scene was really funny and a perfect representation of the healthcare system. Because insomnia like absolutely can kill you. I know this,
Yeah.
and I'm ashamed to say it because of Supernatural. Because not sleeping for an extended period of time, like at all, your hair will fall out, your nails will fall out. Yeah, not sleeping, it won't be the direct cause of death, but it will make your heart and brain fail. So I thought
And
that was
don't
a
even think
perfect
about getting
representation.
behind the wheel of a car or being a pedestrian and trying to gauge when it's safe to cross the street. Like there are so many
Yes.
things that you're so debilitated by, even just from having like fatigue. Like even if you kind of sleep, if it's not good quality sleep, like yeah, it genuinely messes you up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is funny that the doctor's like, you can't die from that.
Loser. Chew on a farrow root. And like he didn't do that in this movie that we see, but like do you think that someone who can't get a good prescription in the correct dose from a medical professional wouldn't turn to like illicit drugs to help with sleeping
Right.
problems? You think he's not going to guzzle like an entire bottle of cough syrup or like try heroin or something? I don't know. Does heroin make you sleep? I don't know these things, but I'm also not an insomniac, and I'm not been driven to find other sources of you know.
Right, because of being dismissed by a so-called medical professional. And I do think like that's another danger of like the healthcare industry, right? They can accept or reject anybody kind of at will. It
Mhm.
doesn't really matter. But then these people, if they don't have another option, like, yeah, you are like engaging on the war on drugs on the side of the drugs. Like you know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
enabling all these things to continue because people don't have any other resources. He's gonna get addicted to support groups. Okay, it's serious. He has nowhere else to go.
Dude, is there a reverse of the meme that was like, I was so caught up in the euphoria of blank that I lived in a world that I forgot racism existed? Is there a world where it's like I was so caught up in the like world of healthcare and insurance and medical malpractice that I forgot we were living in a world where Fight Club exists and Ed Norton gets addicted to support groups? This movie's awesome.
This movie's awesome.
I love the look of it too. The whole
Mhm.
movie just kind of looks dirty. I mean, like
Yeah.
a lot of like the set and things, obviously, because they're living in a house that
It's
does
a
not work.
dilapidated, abandoned house that like could have easily been a drug den. Nobody really knows. They have to turn off
Yeah,
the electricity when it rains.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
no
like that high
good.
schour car, where it's like it
Yeah.
runs, so we keep using it. But is it safe? What do you care?
None of your
Yeah.
business. Yeah. Um, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, the actual look of the like not footage. There's a word I'm looking for, but like it's kind of yellow, kind of
Mhm.
grainy looking. You know
Like
what
the
I mean?
color grading of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It
And I
looks
like that it
like it was
is,
filmed through a cigarette filter.
yeah, which it probably was. And I like that they don't shy away from color.
Yeah.
They still let it look dingy without everything just being like grayscale or like sepia toned or something, where you in low contrast so you can't really tell. You can see what's going on the screen, and there's plenty of
Yeah,
color. It
yeah,
just fits the theme of like this guy's unhinged, you know?
yeah,
Those are the
yeah.
colors that you're seeing.
And
It's
that's
pretty nice.
great. And it's almost
Yeah.
like color grading and being able like color finishing. Like that's a job that a professional can do. And is if they're good at
Yeah.
it, then it has a profound effect on the final product, something like that. I don't know.
That's interesting. And like lighting, how like it's actually preferable to have like high contrast lighting in a lot of scenes because it's more dramatic and because it's just easier for people to see it. And it's a film, so you want people to see it.
Sure. Yeah, it is. And even
Like
though
maybe I would say that.
they're in a really dark and dingy, gross basement that's maybe lit by an itty bitty book light, we can
Hmm.
see.
We can
They've
see that
got
that's
one
what's
little
happening.
light on
Hmm.
the main fight guys, and that's it. Like that's all we need to see.
Hmm.
Like that's all they need to see to fight. But we get like it's everything. It's not like I'm struggling to see. Okay,
Right, because
which
I want to
character is
see
that?
like I want to see what's going
Okay,
on in the movie, and they're fighting, and I want to see the fight because
yeah,
it's that's
something
the
like
name of
that.
the movie. The Fight Club is happening where the club has gotten together and they're fighting, and you're not going to let me watch that? You know? It's
Boo.
nice that like the
Yeah.
lighting is good, the color grading is good, and like
Hmm.
yeah, I just love that like Tyler is wearing these just super extravagant flamboyant outfits. Like he is always wearing
Where
four
is it?
different patterns, which
Yeah.
is
The fur
impossible because he's
coat.
only wearing two items of clothing. So it's like how did you know?
Yeah.
Super impressive. Like I love that they don't shy away from that kind of like
Okay.
whimsy. He has bright
Okay.
colors, patterns,
Okay.
textures, but it still is like a very gritty, harsh movie
Yeah.
where like people die and it matters.
Yeah. Like
I
when
was
Bob gets
watching
shot.
yeah, ugh, devastating. I was
Really
watching
sad.
Mina Lay's video about Wicked, and she talks a lot about like the history of Technicolor and color grading and how it's like changed over time, and it was super interesting. There was one point where she was like, I don't know, I think you can involve color in a story and it's still a good story. Shoot me. And I was like, thank you, Mina.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
Did she like Wicked? I care a lot about her opinion.
She liked Wicked because she loves
Yay.
musicals, and the theater
Good.
that she was at had changed their projector light recently enough that she could actually see the movie.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's great. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was something that I
Hi,
really liked about
Mina.
Wicked. Um, I told you this already because the costumes were awesome because it looked like a
Yeah.
professional had made them and it took them more than 20 minutes to throw together. But also
Right.
color. I sometimes I feel like I watch a movie with a lot of color and I feel like, oh my gosh, like a drowning man who's just been handed a glass of water. I didn't realize I was
Because it's
starving.
nutrient.
Yeah, it's nutrients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like
have a
chest
list
hair on
in
a
my.
man,
hmm
overly manicured lawns,
Yeah.
no
No,
color
we
movies.
were all part of that conversation. Whatever.
We all
I
know.
have a list in my notes app of things that I like if I had the time and the like mental focus at the same time that I
Mhm.
would do like a video essay or something about, but unfortunately it's always one or the other. I'm like, I really want to do this, but I have no time, and then I have time and I'm like, you know, I don't want to do it anymore. But one of them, like it's just like bullet points basically. One of them just said color is a nutrient, smiley face. And I'm like so serious about it. I've said this for a long time, but like mostly just to myself or like in small conversations. But I like need the world to know color is a nutrient. Like you're starving
Yeah.
yourself if you live in the millennial Grage house,
Yeah. Yeah, like look
you
at these
know?
walls. Look at the walls in my hell, I'm gonna flip this around because grage literally is the color of this. This is
That's
grage. Can you see
Grage.
that?
That's Grage right there.
Yeah. Yep. Because it's not
And but
quite
the thing
gray
is,
and it's
like,
not quite brown. It is the perfect
it's
mix of
just
in
in
between.
between. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
I
will
didn't
say
pick
that
this.
you don't have a lot of space to like you don't have a lot of freedom, I think, to play around with the paint color. But your
Yeah.
choice of like decorations, of furniture, of like clothes, whatever, add color to the place that you live in so that you can live
hmm
there and not be like and not shoot yourself through the
Starving.
head to kill Brad Pitt. You're not starving yourself. Like you can do something about it.
Yeah, so I think what we're saying is the problem with Ed Norton is that he wasn't choosing to wear a cornflower blue tie on Tuesdays.
Yeah. Like where's your sense of whimsy? And
Yeah.
it's like they when he first meets Tyler and he's talking about like the IKEA of it all. And
Uh-huh.
that's the problem is that he's buying these things because they come in a set and you can get them at the magazine. It's easy
hmm
and he doesn't really care about the character of them, right? Like
Yeah.
buying from IKEA is not like a morally bad thing, but it
hmm
has to be like you actually chose something that you like that fits in your space, that's useful to you, and
hmm
shows some like personality.
Yeah.
Get some art on your walls, you know?
Yeah.
Do something.
Yeah, something you
Yeah,
care
because
about.
he was Ed Norton, he was living in a millennial Grade apartment ahead of his time, and
Yeah.
that's why he went crazy
Yeah.
and
That's
started making napalm in his basement.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
think about that.
Start getting some color or else. What does your dad say that you I think I heard you say this like the first month we were together on the mission. Your dad says if two colors weren't meant to be together, then God wouldn't have put them together in nature. So
Right.
people are like pink and red don't go together. Then why do you see pink and red wildflowers? Why do you see pink and
hmm
red lilies? Huh? Huh? Huh?
hmm
Oh,
Like
pink
you
and
know
green
those
don't go together.
fuchsias that are
Flower.
like purple in the middle and like a very bright red on the outside. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different kinds of fuchsias with different colors and they all look nice.
So
Yeah, the
you're saying
point was
that
like
God doesn't know what he's doing?
that's so interesting because look around, buddy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's something like just going back to the idea of like movies that have not a lot of color or saturation or like just aren't very vibrant. It's this shift towards like being realistic. Like, oh, we have to be gritty and realistic. But it's like, I don't know, man. When I go outside, I don't see just the same four shades of gray over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, if you want realism, you should add more color to your movie, not less.
Yeah.
What an insane thing to say.
Remind me what your dad what did he like what's his degree in?
He has a master's of fine arts in costume design. Well, in like theater
Okay.
design, but his thesis was
hmm
about costume design.
hmm
Yeah.
So you're saying he knows what he's talking about?
He like famously has been a student and teacher of design for over 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah. And he
Mhm.
this isn't finished yet, but he did paint that.
Oh yeah,
So that's just something to
it's
think
good.
about. Yeah. And it's not even done yet. He was painting it during like lockdown. He had a lot of
Sad
time
fact.
on his hands because he wasn't like traveling for work, because it's hard to work in theater during pandemic.
Sure. Not a lot
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Yeah, so he just bought a big old canvas and paint and got to work. And then now
Sad.
because he has to go back to work,
No time.
it's just there.
Oh,
But eventually,
hi.
maybe.
Fight Club
Fight
is
Club, now
good.
that's a movie.
And that's a
Yeah.
movie, baby. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And it has all the necessary nutrients for a movie.
lots of them. Yeah.
Color,
Mm-hmm. Brad Pitt.
cinematography, Brad Pitt,
Yep.
explosions,
Yep. Yep.
and
Blatant
just watching a man
homoeroticism.
totally, oh yeah, homoeroticism. And just watching a man's psyche completely deteriorate before his own eyes, but he doesn't recognize it until it's too late.
Yay!
Yay!
Olivia, can I ask you a question? Does this movie also remind you of any other famous movie from 1999?
Um,
You're eluding the
well,
witness, but
if there were perhaps, the thing is, like, there's not quite enough, I would say, explicit cannibalism in this movie. It's more metaphorical, because they're like
yeah.
consuming each other's lives, blah, 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 blah. But it is actually interesting in terms of like, oh, American consumerism is like destroying individual worth and, homoeroticism. Can we say that again?
Psyche falling apart before a man's
Etc.
own
Psyche falling
eyes.
apart, and
Mhm.
like these constraints of toxic masculinity in the expansion of America,
Yeah. The
and
only way to kill the guy is to kill yourself
is to
also.
kill yourself in like blah, blah, blah. It's like kind of interesting. They hit a lot of the same notes. Everybody say
Yeah.
it all together. Ravenous, directed by Antonia Bird.
We
Yeah.
love you. Yay. Oh my goodness. By the way, I didn't mention it because I forgot, but December 28th was the 1-year anniversary of me watching Ravenous for the first time in a fever dream
yeah.
haze at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
So we just passed that
Happy
milestone.
anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Wahoo.
Yeah. It doesn't quite, Fight Club doesn't quite hit the note for me that it would be good to put in the category of turn of the century movies about expansionism and whatever, just because I think one of the caveats of that was directed by a woman. That's the only thing that it's missing.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Because
Yeah.
David Fincher directed this one, yeah?
David Fincher, and I don't think that he's a woman. I can double check. If he came on the channel, then he would be an actual woman in actual
famously.
STEM. So that would be nice.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
maybe next year.
Yeah, no, I do think you're right. I also, on the note of the apartment that Ed Norton was living in, David Fincher said that he did model that after an apartment that he lived in his youth. And he said that he was inspired by this because he always wanted to blow that one up. So he's like, this is perfect. And that's true
Yeah.
also.
He can finally,
a little bit of catharsis
realize his
there.
dream. Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
true. I mean, sometimes if you just live in an apartment that just has stuff, but nothing that you really care about, and it's kind of all the same color, and you don't spend a lot of time there anyway,
Yeah.
it does become like not really a home, but just a place for your stuff, which I think he says a couple times in the movie. Like, that was just a place full of stuff. It didn't even
Yeah.
matter to me.
Yeah.
It was my whole life, but it also wasn't anything. You can see how that could kind of wear you down a little bit.
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah. On top of not being able to sleep, that will drive you clinically insane. That's
Yeah.
like a real warning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paint your houses now. Do it now. There's not very much time.
Yeah, no, this movie's great. The one that we're talking about right now and everything.
Yeah, which is Fight Club.
It is Fight Club. I will say we're more on topic tonight than we have been about other movies in the past. So I'm proud of us.
That's true. I feel like this week and last week we were like on.
Yeah.
The weeks before that.
Well, we talked about Home Alone 2 And we were pretty on top of that.
There you
So
go.
maybe we're not as bad as we think we are at this. Maybe we are
Well,
professional podcasters.
life is so beautiful.
Isn't it
To be a
just we
professional,
just
do you have to be making money? Like, is that the thing? That's the definition of what makes you a professional?
I think it might be. Now that
Dang
you say that.
it! Ah,
Um,
we're still amateurs.
we've been doing this for like a year now. How long are we gonna have to do this?
Forever.
We're definitely not doing it because we enjoy it. You know, a couple weeks
Ugh.
ago, Olivia said 90% of what you see is like our real lives and not persona. The persona that you do see is that we're friends and we actually enjoy doing
So we're
this.
happy about it. We join the call and we say, hi, so good to see you. And then when we see each other's parents, we're like, say hi to your parents. In actuality, we're
Yeah.
like, oh. We're dreading,
I
we're
missed-
counting down the days.
Yeah, yeah. And the
Yeah.
nights that we take like 20 extra minutes to hang up the phone because we keep thinking of extra things we want to say to each other. It's scripted. We plan
It's
that.
called method acting. Could
Yeah.
learn a thing or
Oh.
two from us and Christian Bale.
And Christian Bale, although you might not want to. Because
Right,
not
'cause
everybody
he
can be Christian
will-
Bale.
He will gain 75 pounds in a week if he has to. So that's like,
Yeah.
okay.
90% of what he does medically shouldn't be possible, but it is.
Right.
So,
Like the
yeah.
sweat on command thing, for example. I know maybe you felt like we were harping on it too much last time. Think about it though. Isn't that crazy?
That's
Nobody
so
should be
insane.
allowed to do that. Like, not that even that it shouldn't be possible. It's like, even if it's possible, there should be some sort of law or something. Like, that shouldn't be allowed to happen. It's scary.
It's real. Yeah, scary.
Yeah.
Why hasn't Congress come up with a law against this? Like, why haven't we pushed that bill to the forefront?
Oh,
That
they
man needs
don't
to be
care about
stopped.
things that matter.
Also famously true.
Yeah.
But speaking about method acting, though, this was something that I remembered. My dad just said, "Just heading to the movie." #blessed. I get the
I love him.
craziest text
It doesn't
from
even
him.
matter. It doesn't even matter what movie that's about.
He just sent a picture of my mom standing next to the Mufasa poster. He thinks he's funny.
I see. So he's just
Yeah.
started a war now, is what. He's not sending you like cute little life updates. He's like trying to get you to send your forces into his territory and they can shoot
The
at each
text
other
that
with
was
bullets
heard
and
around the
tanks.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Which reminds me, we usually play Risk every Christmas as a family, and we didn't do that this year.
Huh.
So I guess we're not really a family anymore. Yikes. It's too bad. On the note of method acting, there was something that I
Yeah.
read that I thought was interesting. Ed Norton and Helena Bonham Carter both were like, maybe we should attend like real life support groups to like prepare for the role. And then they both were like, actually, this movie's not meant to be taken serious. It's kind of satirical. It's meant to be kind of funny. So we won't do that to be respectful. And I was like, interesting that for the second time in a row in a movie about a super psychotic person that also has
Mhm.
Jared Leto in it who gets beaten to, an unrecognizable pulp at some point in the movie,
Yes.
that people choose healthier choices for method acting
Right.
than Jared Leto. Isn't
Huh.
that interesting? Does
That's
like
so, yeah.
Yeah, that they were like, no, you know what? Those are real support groups. Those are there for a reason. We're going to be respectful, keep our distance. This movie isn't meant to be taken seriously anyway. It's kind of meant to be a joke that our characters are going there. We won't
Right. Because
some
it's like
things
a
are sacred,
ridiculous thing
that's
for
not
them to be
intrude.
doing.
To get addicted to support
Ooh.
groups.
The interesting of it all. And like we were saying, apparently Jared Leto was in like every movie in the late 90s and early 2000s.
He
But
just keeps cropping up.
we were young enough to not have watched grown-up movies at that time. So we now have to
Yeah.
go back and visit them for the first time as adults, 20 years later. And it's interesting that he was so everywhere, and I didn't know that.
Mm-mm.
And it's not
No.
like it's not a particularly fun thing to learn a lot of the time.
No,
I
I,
don't
I
really-
will say though, the benefit of it is that he is unrecognizable in most of these roles. Like, I only knew that he was
I don't
Jared
know.
Leto in these
I
roles
kind
because
of
I got
don't even
warnings
know what he looks like.
beforehand.
Like if I like saw him walking down the street, I probably wouldn't recognize him. He
Mhm.
means very little to me, but then he just keeps being there. And I'm like, well, that's weird because Why?
In the
I
street
don't
with
know
you?
that guy. I don't know that guy. Well, maybe. Who's to say? Because I
Ugh,
don't know what he looks like.
horrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I mean, what a huge major weirdo creep and loser in real life. Usually I have a fondness for those ones in fiction. Yikes.
I think it would be a really good business idea for somebody to make a little teeny tiny indestructible lapel mics that you can put on dog and cat collars and listen to them be cute.
That would be so fun.
It
That would be perfect.
would be really, really good. I realized that I'm just backlit, but I decided that I don't care. And
You kind of like an angel.
so, welcome back to Women in STEM, and we're still talking about Fight
Can I
Club.
tell you about?
That's
the
just
buffer
so
there.
that we say, so
Yeah,
people know
good
what's
point.
going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fight Club, Women in STEM. I'm Whitney. That's Olivia.
Oh yeah.
And that's everything we needed to do. So I watched it again today.
Uh-huh. What'd you think?
I thought it was all right. Yeah, no, it was okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's like
did-
I can see why people like it.
I feel like the second watch is always the litmus test for whether a movie is really gonna last with me, as if I enjoy it more or less the second time around. If I can watch it the second time and I'm like, okay, I'm done. But like, I just needed to watch it twice and get my fill, and that was it. But
Right.
sometimes the second rewatch is like, wow, oh, okay, I'm just getting started. And that was with this one, because I was like, now that I was fully aware of the twist at the end, I was like looking for every hint.
Mhm.
I couldn't be distracted. I wasn't going to be distracted by the plot moving forward and all these things. Now I could start to look at the other bits.
Oh, the good part. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Look for like ghosts in the background or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I am going to tell you now, I do not remember what topics we covered last time. So I
Oh
don't
no, me neither. And I thought about going through our video, to like
Uh-huh.
look through it. I'm editing the 12 fail video, and I was like, I could just edit the Fight Club video instead because we still have more to talk about. And then I was like, no. So,
As is your right.
thank you. I know.
This is a hobby.
Yeah.
This right here.
Yeah, I think people already are expecting it to be a little bit too professional, just by way of like suggesting more than 2 movies at a time. We have like jobs and stuff,
Yeah.
and this just frankly isn't one of them. Maybe someday, but probably not, because
Hopefully.
we only need like 900 more people to subscribe and watch like a lot of videos to get our like hours up, and then we'll be good. Then we can make probably
Yay.
up to $20. That's $10 each.
And that's like half of a lunch for the day.
Yeah, $20. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yay.
So there you go. And then once
There you go.
I get my alpaca farm up and running and start making money off of that, then
Then we'll really be in business. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But that's a long
I'm
way
watching a
off.
lot of videos of people like making yarn, where you have all the fluff and you put it into the thing and you spin
Oh
it
my
until it
gosh.
becomes yarn. And then they
Yeah.
can use the yarn to make projects, and it's like an entirely homemade project, not because they knit it themselves, but because they also made the yarn before they did the knitting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever do you ever just want to kill yourself?
Do you ever hear?
It just sucks to see somebody else living your dream.
It is. And you should know, like, all the listeners at home, we've literally been saying this for years. 4 years.
Time.
I have been talking
Yeah.
about starting an alpaca farm since, probably we met. And every
Mhm.
year that passes, I get more and more stressed about it, because the
Yeah.
whole goal was to
Like I'm
get
running
in
out of time.
before the alpaca bubble blows up, because there are not a lot of alpaca ranches in the States. And like with
Mhm.
hobby farms and stuff, it's still kind of rare to find like an alpaca farm that, produces and sells, yarn en masse or wool en masse. And
Mhm.
the longer that I don't do that, the longer it's going to be before I miss my chance, and that market's going to be oversaturated. And I'm not even going to be an established name. So like,
Yeah. And we're always saying this, and it's like, when people are like in their mid-20s and they're like freaking out because they're like pushing 30 or like their biological clock is ticking. Our
yeah,
clock
don't care
is
about.
when are we gonna be able to buy land and alpacas to put on the land?
Yeah. Yep, 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 yep,
Question
yep.
mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, profit.
Oh,
Yeah.
profit, like I see. Not that you were, I thought
FIT, not PHET. Yeah.
no, I thought you were
When
adding
am I
question
gonna
marks.
become the next prophet?
I thought you were adding question marks to the question to make it really, really strong. Like, when are we gonna get alpacas?
Oh,
Question mark,
right.
question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. No, it was the space in between. I get it now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then I just throw a little profit on the end. Like,
Oh, one day it'll happen.
yeah. Not tomorrow, but maybe the next day.
No, yeah.
Happy Insurrection Day, by the way. People can go to law enforcement with my degree. Give that back, that's mine.
So I take it that's not what you're gonna go
Gotta
into
have
then.
that. Well, I'm kind of thinking about it actually.
A lot of people do it. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's like, if there has to be a boot to lick, I'd rather be the boot, you know? That's what I'm
It's a
always
good
saying.
point. That's true. I can back that up.
Yeah, and it's like it's not like there's any way for it to not be that way. This is just the natural order of things. So I would rather be on the top of the natural order, which is a true and real thing,
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah,
Why would we make that up?
I
The
know.
natural order. It's in the name.
It's
Stupid.
natural, not artificial.
Organic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Fight Club. I'm getting sad.
Okay, yes, please, let's do it. What I like about Fight Club, oh, and we talked about this last time, is how, like, at first you really like Tyler because he's like, shaking up the status quo. He's like wearing fun colors and he's like, stop buying everything from a big box, be your own person. And you're like,
Hmm.
okay.
Homemade soap? Hell yeah.
hmm And then over time you're like, oh, wait.
Oh, he's like a super
Oh
crazy
no.
person.
Oh no. Everyone's gonna get out. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think it's the outfit. Like, I really think, how often do you see a man that well dressed?
hmm
Rarely, if
Period.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you see a man walking around with that kind of a coat, or like I mentioned it yesterday, the sheer hustler
Yeah.
shirt. What the hell?
Mesh shirt, I know. And imagine that you're just a regular Joe Schmo, and your imaginary friend is this man, beautiful Brad
Leo.
Pitt, in like revealing clothing. And what we as an audience are supposed to take away from this is somehow not a homosexuality. Make that make sense. Why are you
Yeah,
imagining this guy? It could be
those are the clothes
anybody.
you
It
put
could
him
be
in.
anybody. It's 90s Brad Pitt.
It could have
Come
been, and I say this
on.
respectfully, it could have been Steve Buscemi.
Could have been anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's cra like every outfit, even the ones where he's like just chilling around the house, he's wearing like a robe, a coat of many colors. It
Yeah.
looks like if the fabric store threw up on it
hmm
lovingly.
But like in a
Um,
good way. Yeah.
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 That's just like his lining around the house clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure, sure,
And
sure.
we're remembering, it's like we're on the second watch through now. We're remembering that he's imaginary. So we're thinking, Ed Norton, maybe with this mental power, you could be doing some real good in the world, but you're sending like 90% of your imagination to Brad Pitt's flamboyant ass outfits.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
how your computer spends like 90% of its storage on a program that you didn't even know you had. It's the
hmm
same thing. Ed Norton's head
Yeah.
is spending 90% of his mental capacity to Brad Pitt's most perfect glistening abs.
That's crazy. another thing that I love about that is that he gets so jealous of this man that he made up. Like he is mad. He's like, everybody, he spends all of his time with other people. I never get one-on-one time with my buddy. I thought we were in this together. And he's mad at Helena Bonham
Marla.
Carter for sleeping with his imaginary friend, which she isn't doing. She's sleeping with him, but he's mad because he wants to sleep with Brad Pitt. And he can't. He's frustrated about it, so he takes it out on her. And she's like, "Who's we?" And he's like, "Get out of my house." And she's like, "Stop inviting me then." I love one thing I love about this movie that I don't think I mentioned this last time. I've been thinking about it. I love how much he hates her. It's so funny.
So much. It's so
'Cause
much.
even before she like meets Tyler, he like hates her right off the bat for stealing his thing of being
Marla, you
addicted to support
tourist.
groups. Yeah. He hates her for that. And then he just they keep calling each other and talking to each other, but every time he's like, "I wish she would die in a house fire." And you're like, I'm talking through that. But then anyway, the time where she has like overdosed and she calls him and she's like, "Do you think that dying is really like what they say it is?" She is like, any rational person, no matter how much you like don't really care for this guy, you'd call an ambulance. You'd be like, "I'm really worried about this woman. I think she's gonna literally die because she overdosed." And he's like, "Whatever, bitch." Like puts the phone up on the wall. Like, what's wrong with him? He's the worst person in the world.
He
He's
literally is.
terrible.
Well, and even before that, too, she's like walking into traffic without looking, not looking
Yeah.
both ways, not looking either way. She's active, and she says, she goes, or something, the great tragedy in her life is that she doesn't die, something like that.
Right. Yeah. And he's like, "No kidding."
If I had a tumor, I'd name it Marla. What's wrong with you?
The old ball and chain. He like hates her. And
Hates her
for
so
why?
much.
Like,
Just better.
they're just similar, actually.
It's so
It's
funny.
like fine.
So he spends so much time at these support groups, just like waxing poetic about how much he hates her. He calls her the scratch on the roof of your mouth that would heal if only you would stop tugging it.
Teething.
First of all,
Whatever that means.
yeah. Second, what's wrong with you? He's like enemies with this woman in his head, purely in his head, and she's like,
And
"I
she
saw
just
you
sees him
practicing
around.
this." Yeah,
Yeah.
because she apparently knows. She picks up on how much he hates her. Capital H. Hates her, knows that he's practicing telling her off, and then when he finally works up the nerve to do it, she's like, "How's it going for you?" And he's like, "Nightmare, nightmare, nightmare."
But she just repels it. Like, she just has an invisible force field. He's like, "Die, die, die, die." And she's like, just waiting.
I love her
so
so much.
funny.
Marla Singer character of all time to me. I love her, love her, love her. I also think it's so funny because he does absolutely hate her so much, but it's also in that movie way where it's like, you're sure thinking about her a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Marla, I guess we should exchange phone numbers or whatever. Like, give me your number,
Just because,
you stupid
just
bitch,
since
and
we
I
have
hate
like
you."
joint custody over these stupid support groups or whatever. I mean, it like doesn't even matter, but just in case.
Yeah. Like,
There's so many things wrong with it.
so many. For instance, how he's so much angrier at her for doing the same thing that he is doing. What were you doing at the Double Sacrament? Like,
Mhm.
type B, you don't have testicular cancer. She's like, "Do you?" And he's like, "Ooh."
She got me. He just hates to see honesty.
Yeah, and then we see his apartment explode into 1,000 pieces, and he's like, "Oh, that's kind of embarrassing. I only have mustard in my fridge. Oh well, guess I'm
Yeah.
calling my imaginary friend."
Yeah, well, he calls
Yay!
Marla first, and she's like, "What's going on? I can hear you breathing. I know that you're there." And he's like, "Huh." And then he calls his imaginary friend. And how does that work? Inexplicable behavior. This guy in a phone booth just talking to there's presumably nobody else on the other end because he thinks that it's Tyler.
I read
What a freak.
and I checked it this time around. The phone booth says no incoming calls. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't even ring.
He
It's
just
just-
really wanted it to ring because he really, really wanted Brad Pitt to be on the other end for normal, straight reasons.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
Interesting.
Also on the subject of Marla too, she says, I saw you practicing this. They know each other perfectly immediately
Mhm.
so well. And it's what's the thing? Self-recognition through the other, derogatory. Except
Yeah.
for she's like, oh hey, like-minded character here. And he's like, wow, I have never been so filled with hatred and anger in my whole life
Yeah.
over just this woman who's clearly in pain.
Yeah.
And then he'll go and say something like, every single time the plane takes off, I pray that it will crash or like another plane will crash into us.
Mhm.
Did you know that life insurance pays 3 times as much if you die on a business trip? That's crazy. And it's like, good for you. Who's it going to? Because your apartment exploded to death. And the first 2 people you called were Marla Singer, the person you hate more than anyone in the world,
Mhm.
and Brad Pitt without his shirt on.
Yeah. And I don't like
Valid.
the idea. He says that line as if he's going to be the one receiving his own life insurance money, which is by
Yeah.
definition impossible.
When he first meets Brad Pitt on the plane, I really like this scene. Because Tyler is like, super cool, sexy, like manic pixie dream girl vibes.
Yeah, he is.
He sells soap. He's like, did you know that the oxygen masks get you high? It's all in the pictures, on the informational cards. As though they
Right.
would like put terrified people on the cards. And like that's
Like,
one of the
they're
things
trying
that
to
Project
put-
Mayhem does later in the movie that is
Yeah,
like,
I like that of it.
good for you guys. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it's like,
getting them.
stick it to the man by just changing one picture so that the kid is crying instead of smiling. Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, like they would want people to panic. And obviously the oxygen doesn't do that. But
Right.
like,
Well,
do you
because
think
here's the thing, Tyler's an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because he's in the body of Brad Pitt, Ed Norton is like, damn, you're making some good points.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you
Whatever
sleeping
you
tonight?
say, baby girl. Yeah. He's so annoying.
Yeah, he really is. Let me see. I'm going through my notes. I'm trying again, I do not remember what we talked about the other day. But
Me
oh
neither.
yeah. Marla will go to like multiple of the same meetings that he is going to, and he'll explode her in his mind a million billion times and hate her so much, so much, so much. And then his apartment explodes and he says these things happen.
Right.
No,
Which
they
don't.
don't. One
Name one-
apartment?
Name one other person that happened to.
Go on, Ed Norton. We're waiting. You freak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, these things happen, and then he just sees Helena Bonham Carter alive, and he's like, ah.
Laser vision, activate.
Yeah. She's like, hey Ed, or whatever your name is.
Yeah. Yikes. He's
Yeah.
awful. Along with Marla, so like she's obviously like trying to connect with him a little bit later throughout the movie after she starts sleeping with Tyler. And then later she's like, I don't get you. You're an asshole to me in one moment. You're such a sweetheart the next. So Ed Norton is only ever an asshole to her. That means that Tyler, the alter ego that organized a nationwide terrorist organization,
Yeah.
was the sweet
Is a
one.
feminist. What does
Shaftcast,
that
do you
say
have
about
to be?
society?
In the movie critiquing toxic masculinity, the toxic masculinity like archetype is still like, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be nice to her.
Yeah. I'm not a dick. Like, come on. And he wears cute clothes. So he's
He
actually really
does.
progressive.
So think about that.
Mhm.
Did I say this yesterday? How Reese Witherspoon was offered the role of Marla?
Whoa, you didn't.
Okay, yeah, so she
That's
was, but she turned
crazy.
down the role because it was too dark. So naturally, it went to Helena Bonham Carter because like
Right,
she doesn't have
because
a
she's
definition for too dark.
famously, yeah, she's
Yeah,
in every dark movie. And then it's funny that Reese Witherspoon then turned around and was in American Psycho.
exactly. A movie that in my how I would classify movies is like way darker than this one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He
Yeah,
runs
so she
down the
did
hall.
that.
I don't know if we've emphasized this enough. In American Psycho, he runs down the hallway naked except for shoes with an actively running chainsaw, and he's chasing down a sex worker, and then he throws the chainsaw at her down the stairs, and she bleeds to
Yeah,
death.
he does. He
And that's
does
just
that.
like kind of not even the main, that's not like the climax of the movie. That's just one of the many steps of the movie. But to be
Yeah.
fair, Reese Witherspoon's role in American Psycho, she doesn't see any of the violence.
No, she's pretty protected
So,
from it. I
yeah.
do think that what happened was she didn't expect this movie to do as well as it did, and so then it did, and she's like, "Oh, well, maybe I should do a dark one." And she did. And it was,
Mhm.
it worked out, and I'm glad for her. I thought that was really funny. And I'm really glad that Helena Bonham Carter got the role because I don't think I can't. I watched a movie where the girl who plays Cher from Clueless
Mhm.
was like playing this kind of dark, gritty, street smart girl, and she's a talented actress. Alicia Silverstone. She's a talented
Mhm.
actress. Do not get me wrong, but
Mhm.
I have typecast her in my head, and it was really, really hard for me to get behind the role because I could only hear her say the Haitians, blah 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 blah
Mhm.
blah.
Right,
And
right, right.
then she's like supposed to be like, yeah, okay, I get it. So I think that would be this a similar thing for me in this one, where it's like, I don't believe that Reese Witherspoon is suicidal. And I don't think that she
No.
would sleep with that guy out of self-destructive tendencies. I'm sorry, because that's Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah. She's
But Helena
blonde.
Bonham Carter? Sure. Absolutely. I don't
Yeah.
think she's ever washed off her makeup. It's just
No.
new layer over new layer. And that's
Mhm.
great.
Like the
I
Joker. Whoa.
yeah. Yeah. I loved this movie so much.
It's a good movie. I mean, I can
It's
see
good
why people
movie.
like it.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
can watch it for the plot and be very interested, or you can watch it for like the little Easter eggs of, oh, he's crazy and be
Hmm.
very have a good time. And also you can not watch it for the plot and just look at all the beautiful people on the screen and be like,
Yeah,
hey
because there's a
guys.
lot of them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Even I mean, like Tyler Durden is supposed to be like the peak, right? But then you have Ed Norton, who's also, dare I say, pathetic and soaking wet.
I would
So like
say
if
that,
that's your
yeah.
thing, he's there. Helena Bonham Carter is there. Um,
She's kind of like the in between of both of them, where she's beautiful. She's Helena Bonham Carter, but
yeah,
then
she
she's
is.
also like very sad and
Yeah.
kind of weaselly, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, yeah, that's great. If
hmm
you're into like the homoerotic undertones,
You
overtones,
will have a good
question
time.
mark.
Tones? Just tones, maybe?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're there. They're for sure
Mhm.
there. Yeah.
They're there. Don't cry. When Nellie was like 4, that was her favorite knock knock joke.
What's the joke? He just
Knock
didn't
knock.
bless him. Who's there?
Boo.
Boo hoo.
Oh no, don't cry.
That
And
was
it's like
Nellie's
boo
favorite.
hoo.
That
Wah.
is
Yeah.
funny. That's
Yeah.
really cute. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that a
She would
lot.
try to tell the interrupting cow one, but it was just hard to get the timing right because she couldn't pronounce interrupting. So then the other person never knew how to ask interrupting cow who, you know? But she
That's
tried.
really cute.
It's like,
I'm trying to look through my notes. I just don't, I fully do not remember anything we talked about. So I'm going to repeat probably a lot
okay,
of
that's
things.
fine.
Yeah.
I think that
Um,
we do that anyway.
Great. Perfect. Brad Pitt was paid 17.5 million for this role, and Ed Norton was paid 2.5. I think that's a little not fair.
Yeah, because like I know that he's the bigger name, but Ed Norton did do like the acting of a lifetime in this movie. He
Yeah.
beat himself up a couple times. I mean,
Yeah, he did.
yeah, that takes some serious chops, and he is like the main character, and you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, I'm picking up on that.
Yeah,
He's
I don't know. Like I understand like the industry thing is like the more famous you are, the more like hard to get you are. You have to make more money, whatever, whatever. I just
Mhm.
think, what if it was not like that?
Yeah.
What if everybody who worked on a project, like everybody was just paid? Call me crazy. Whoa.
I will.
Can't be a cop if I say stuff like that. Never mind.
No, you're a communist, is what you are.
Yeah. I mean, no. If anybody's listening, that's not. I would never say that. I've never even read the Communist Manifesto because it's gross. It's probably bad. I wouldn't know because I haven't read it. Right? Okay, then let's just get back into Fight Club, which we're not supposed to talk about. Whatever.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh, hey,
yeah.
speaking of that, I read something about Rosie O'Donnell. That had not known. Apparently, she went to see the movie before opening weekend, and she found it so disturbing. I quote, exceedingly disturbing, volatile and dangerous. Fight Club. Like,
That's just like a really nice review, to be honest. Like if I read that, I'd be like, ooh, I kind of want to watch that movie.
all right. Ooh, hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched this back to back with American Psycho, and I'm like, are they thinking about the wrong movie when they're talking about this? Because I was like, I didn't feel even remotely disturbed after watching Fight Club. Even a
Well, that's
little
just because of
bit.
your sick and twisted mind.
That's true, and also because I'm enlightened. But also after American, I was like,
Yeah.
there were parts of American Psycho that made me feel a little icky. That I'm like, I'm willing to engage with media that I find exceedingly disturbing and volatile and dangerous.
Yeah.
And that would be
I
the
think
one that
it
I would
can have
apply
its
more of those
place.
words to
Oh, definitely.
than
Yeah.
Fight Club. I was like, what
I
are you
don't
talking? Are we
recommend it
watching
to
the same
people.
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, you have to
apparently,
remember that this is, people had a totally different mindset about movies in the late 90s compared to 2000. I mean, a lot can change in a few months, apparently.
yeah, even Reese Witherspoon can turn on a dime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
What's
Rosie
the world
O'Donnell.
coming to? They even got Reese Witherspoon.
So she apparently was so disturbed by this movie that she was like, I couldn't sleep for a week, and she got on her show and told everyone the plot twist and encouraged everyone not to go see it. Yeah, and I was like, wow, rare
crazy.
Rosie O'Donnell L. What the hell
Yeah,
is wrong with you?
wow.
Why would you do that?
That's crazy.
That's so
That's like I get
wild.
that it's like pre like the crux of spoiler culture, but still, even then, like that's like kind of a rude thing to just go and like spoil a movie for somebody.
When you have a talk show?
Yeah, like you have a
Yeah.
platform that people watch consistently. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
and this is one of the, again, I had known
And one of the
the
joys
twist
of
ending.
Fight Club. Sorry, finish your
Yeah,
sentence.
no, I had known it before going into it, but I can only imagine how crazy it was to watch it without knowing and
Mhm.
like getting to the realization and then getting to rewatch it. Like I can only imagine how cool that felt. You
Yeah.
know? So like why would you take that away from somebody?
Yeah,
And the
it's
movie's not
so
even that
rude.
crazy.
One of the best things about it is that when people bring it up in conversation, they say, "Oh, we're not supposed to talk about that." So it's actually like one of the movies that it's been out for 26 years. And there are still a lot of people who don't know the twist because we don't talk about it unless we are assuming that somebody else has already watched it, right? Which is like it's
Yeah.
funny that it's like kind of a bit from the movie, but then it's also like kind of preserving the movie for people who haven't seen it to be able to
Yeah.
appreciate the twist on their own.
Yeah. So okay, Fight Club is awesome. It's really good. I really like how Ed Norton learns from Tyler how to coerce people into doing what you want them to do just by being like a really, really weird little freak and making them really uncomfortable. Like
Mhm.
with the scene with Lou, Tyler's like, you should join our club. Come on,
Mhm.
join our club, you and your friend, and the dude beats him into a bloody pulp. and he just laughs the whole time. And then at the end, he goes, Lou's like, use the basement. What the hell? I think that's
Yeah.
really funny. And then the very next scene is Ed Norton going to his boss and being like, pay me money and my salary, and I don't even have to come into work. And the boss is like, what's wrong with you? And he's like, that's
Ow,
great.
stop it.
Yeah. And I know they're the same person, but it is because he saw Tyler doing that and he's like, damn, you really think it could work? And then he tried it and it does. So, you know, we're always learning, we're always growing.
Mhm.
I did also
And we can
notice
be
this one.
inspired by unexpected sources, namely imaginary Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And like,
Being
haven't we
more
all?
beautifuler and crazy than you could ever even imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah. Shaking like a wet dog on top of Lou, spitting your blood into his mouth, and like, yeah, man,
And it's crazy
be
because
cool.
everybody else saw that too. So it's not like Ed was imagining that. It's like somebody did that, and Ed thought that it was Tyler, but it was probably
It
himself.
was him. Yeah.
He was like, "What would Tyler do? I know. Jump him."
Yeah, so there was that in the scene where Lou is beating Tyler up, someone pointed this out. All of these things people pointed out because I was like, tell me all of the cool things about it, and they told me all the cool things, and now I have to go back and rewatch them, which is great because it's like I get all the analysis part without me having to do any other work. This is awesome. I
Mhm.
love the internet. This
That's
movie's been out for
so
20
good.
years. I'm not gonna
Yay!
notice anything new. Um,
Yeah.
but during the fight with Lou, every time Lou hits Tyler, Ed Norton in the back reacts like he's been hit too. And I just think that's neat. That's
Aw.
cool. Because in the world where, he
Yay.
obviously is Tyler, it's like, Howie, that's really me. But in the world where they're not the same person, they're in fact gay lovers, that's him just really hurting for his homie.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I also really like that Brad Pitt never just drops a cigarette or puts it out with his foot. He throws it.
He's always throwing stuff. I was talking with Ian about because he said that he didn't remember much of the movie, and then we were talking about it later, and he pointed out like several scenes that he remembered, and I was like, "You totally could have been a part of the conversation, you quitter." But anyway, he's like, "One
Lame.
that really stands out to me, you know, when they're at the liposuction clinic."
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, it's memorable, but it also kind of sucks that that's the scene that you remember best.
Yeah. Because that was far and away. Well, that was the second worst scene of the movie.
Because
Don't eat the
the
lights.
worstest part of all is when the one bag gets stuck on top of the fence.
Awful. Awful,
I'm
awful,
good with it
awful.
until that point. I'm like, okay, these are crazy people. Like everything they
Yeah.
do is disgusting. That's fine. But then
Yeah, I
they
can play pretend.
rip the bag and they try to pull it down anyway, and it just spills everywhere. I'm like,
And it's
ugh,
gooey. Yeah, no, dude, I
so gross.
cannot do that.
It's
I had to
so
skip forward.
gross.
Awful. I could smell it. Did you know they invented movies that you can
Maybe
smell?
that's what Rosie O'Donnell was so mad about.
Valid, but like, girl,
Mhm.
just like
Close your
don't talk
eyes.
about it then. Yeah, that's what I did. I
That's
just
rule number one and
fast-forwarded.
rule number two, Rosie O'Donnell. Just don't talk about it.
She doesn't follow rules.
Don't ask, don't tell, as
No.
gay Ed Norton would famously say.
As bad as that particular spot is, and it is awful, the number one worst part of the movie to me was the part where Ed Norton tears out his own tooth and then he just washes it down the drain. Why'd you do that?
Oh yeah, I didn't like that.
He's like, Howie.
He's
And
like, ow.
it's like a molar. It's not like one of the front
Yeah.
ones. It's a molar. So like how'd you get hit so hard that your molar pops out? That's gross. How are you ever gonna eat again? You can't, like, a tooth can't just come out because there's gonna be root damage and nerve damage. And why would you just throw it
Yeah.
down the drain? You
Because
have
it goes
insurance. Go
all
to
the
a
way.
dentist. I hated that. And my mouth hurt for the entire rest of the movie for that. And I talk a big game about wanting to join a fight club, and I really do. Like, I want to get I want to get into a fight so bad.
Mhm.
That is the one thing that prevents me from ever getting into a fight. The only thing, by the way, that prevents me from
Yeah.
actually start, throwing punches is I am so scared that I would lose my teeth.
Yeah.
can't ever
Which
do
is
that.
the worstest thing ever, ever,
The
ever.
worstest thing in the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
You have to get one of those really good mouth guards like they have in boxing and stuff, and then you can do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Liposuction one is bad. The teeth
Or
one is
just say
bad.
rule number 1, don't talk about it. Rule number 2, don't talk about it. Rule number 3, please don't hit me in the face.
Please don't hit me. Please don't. Not into teeth.
You don't like that. And then
yeah.
you're good to go.
So can we talk about how real
Speaking
rule
of,
number
are we
three?
talking about the rules? Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
no shirt, no shoes? That's a totally straight thing. Cool.
Normal.
Mhm.
Huh. Interesting. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I actually was going to go through and color code my notes to be like, where he's like, methinks the lady doth protest too much about how much he hates Marla. And then I was going to highlight it, all the ones that are like him being so gay for his imaginary friend. And then the third one was just going to be all the rest of it. Those are going to be the only two things that I'm like,
Yeah, it's kind of a good idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
because there's like a lot. Mhm.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
like, can't stress this enough, constantly thinking about half-naked Brad Pitt, like all the time.
All the time. All the time.
It
Yeah, and
interferes
he's
with
like,
his real life work. Like all the
Yeah.
time. It interferes with
Yeah.
any other relationship he could have with any person because he's constantly jealous of them. He's afraid that they're going to find out that Tyler is cooler than him and they're going to want to be with Tyler and they're not going to be with him. And Tyler's not going to want to be with him because Tyler's going to want to be with them, which is a totally normal thing to think about somebody that you aren't in insane love with, who
Yeah.
is real,
Definitely real.
definitely
Yeah.
real.
Homie, he invited you to live in his house. Well, actually, no, he didn't invite you. He made you ask.
Yeah.
He made you ask.
And then he said, sure, is that so hard? Hey, while we're at it, punch me as hard as you can. Okay.
And then he's like, do it before I lose my nerve. And you're like, you know he's not going to lose his nerve. He's doing this
Right,
because
'cause
he's a
he
weird
isn't
little
real.
freak. He wants him to do it so bad.
You hit me in the ear.
And
Oh,
that's
yeah,
really
it's
funny
like-
because I did learn that Ed Norton actually did hit him in the ear on purpose.
He's like, I gotta get a reaction out of this guy. He's making 10 million more dollars than I am. I'm gonna really hit him in the ear in real life. I like those moments of like exasperation in Brad Pitt's performance. There's that moment, and there's the moment where they're in the parking garage, and he's like, "You just shot at a van full of explosives!" Like he's like genuinely like, "Dang." So you don't want to set off the bomb, but then you're gonna shoot the van. Like he's like, he
You're
seems
imaginary
genuinely
friends.
frustrated, genuinely afraid. It's awesome.
Yeah. He's like, you literally cannot hurt me. You can't hurt me in any way that matters. You can't kill me in any way that matters. I can kill you though. And he's literally dragging Ed Norton's lifeless body out of the van. And it's like, if you're you're imaginary, so I can't shoot you, but it doesn't mean that I can't like swing you around. And he does. Because that's the power of the tulpa. The Brad Pitt tulpa. And Ed Norton is so crazy and he's so in love with Brad Pitt that he'll let him do anything.
He gets his ass kicked by Brad Pitt multiple times, and he's not even really there. That's so embarrassing. He can't even win a fight against an imaginary person.
Lame.
Great.
Nerd.
Crazy.
After Brad Pitt gets hit in the ear so hard in real life by Ed Norton, the next time Ed Norton goes to work, he's like, after you get into a fight, the rest of the world kind of drowns out because he can't hear because of how he hit himself in the ear so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But
that was
he's
gonna be
just
the third
thinking it's like,
category.
it's the electricity of fighting. You realize how much of the world is in your hands, but it's like, no, it's you. Maybe you're
You have
concussed,
hearing
dude.
damage.
Like you definitely have hearing damage. Because you just hit yourself in the face multiple times outside of a bar. And you're going to pretend that that's normal. And then you're going to move into a dilapidated house that could easily kill you. Because of the mold,
water
the
is
electricity
brown.
that goes into the water, the pooling brown water in the basement that you have to go into to turn off the electricity when it rains so it doesn't
Yeah.
zap and kill you.
that was number three worst thing for me. It's because they were just walking around there with their clothes. They didn't even like try to hike up their pants or anything. They'd like hike into that
Well, because
water,
then it
no
would get
problem.
on their skin.
Yeah, but it's on their skin anyway.
And Tyler Durden has infinite clothes because he's imaginary, and Ed Norton doesn't care about his life. So,
Oh, Meatloaf is in this.
Meatloaf is in this movie,
He's
and
in
his
this
name
movie.
is Meatloaf.
His name is Meatloaf.
And it's
His
not like
name?
that's a government name. That's like a chosen name. He on
Yeah, but it's
purpose was like,
Meatloaf.
I want to be known as Meatloaf. Loaf of meat. That's me.
That's me. I'll do
And I
anything for
think he
love,
was
but I won't
actually
do that.
right for that.
He's so
Like,
right for
good
that.
for him, you know?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's awesome. That's great. That was the whole note there. I said Meatloaf.
Is in this movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said the tooth, big thumbs down. Yep, that's
Big
correct.
thumbs down. Yucky.
Yep, yikes. I don't know if I said this yesterday. David Fincher was mad about them marketing the movie towards like macho fighter types. They were advertising the movie during like UFC fights and stuff. And he was mad about this, and I think that's really funny because I think that's the perfect audience to market this movie to.
Right. Be like, hey,
It's
maybe think about what you're doing. That's funny.
yeah,
I like
I
it
like
when things are marketed toward the people that you wouldn't expect to be the target audience, like Brokeback Mountain, how they just kind of ignored the whole fact that it is like
super
explicitly a
gay
gay movie. Like it's not even like this
on
one where it's
purpose.
like
Yeah.
you're reading into it. It's like on purpose, like these are two men who are in love, but they
Jake
marketed it
Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger kissed so
around
hard.
Heath Ledger's wife, that relationship, which is barely on
Yeah.
screen. And it's just depressing the whole time because you know that he doesn't love her. It's sad.
Yeah.
But they market this movie so they get in this audience of people who really want to see this beautiful romantic movie starring Heath Ledger, and it is a beautiful romantic movie starring Heath Ledger. But it's just a little different. His wife doesn't even show up till the third act. Like
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway's in that movie.
What? Brokeback Mountain?
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that.
She plays Jake Gyllenhaal's straight wife that he's not in love with.
We were talking about Fight Club. Oh,
I think we
I
were talking
remember
about Fight Club, the movie.
the movie, the one with Edward
Yeah.
Norton.
Yeah, I've seen that, and like Brad Pitt, Helena Bonham
Yeah,
Carter,
that one.
famously
That's
not Reese Witherspoon or Anne Hathaway.
Oh, okay. Couple things I did remember. You know the scene where they destroy the corporate art, they explode the ball, and they roll it in the coffee shop. First of all,
Yes.
a lot of brands were supposed to be named in this movie. Like Starbucks, it was supposed to be Starbucks, and they were like, "No, don't!" And so they removed all of the like brand names from the movie because the filmmakers were cowards. It's okay. But the
Uh-huh.
ball that they were rolling, it was practical effects. They just built a big ball.
Yay.
And I
I
love
like
that.
that.
Yep, that's always good. That's always good.
So they'll mention IKEA, but they won't
They by
mention
name.
famously insidious, like union busting, terrible work environment Starbucks. Like everyone has known for a long time that Starbucks bad.
Yeah, but I guess IKEA is just like cool enough. They're like, whatever. Sure.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Some Americans are trying to make some movie about something. I'd say whatever. Just let them.
Yeah. And they've done
They're too
fine. So I
European
think
for it.
Starbucks I think they could have survived.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
the scene where Ed Norton, Angel Face, pays like a little bit too much attention to Brad Pitt in one scene, and then in the next scene, Ed Norton destroys him so hard. He smashes his
Yeah.
face in. I thought he died, and I was a little disappointed to see him in the next scene alive and well. No, not
Mhm.
well, but alive.
Oh well, yeah.
Um, and
Ruined forever, but alive, yeah.
he says as he walked away, first of all, Brad Pitt's like, where have you been, psycho boy? Like, hello? Oh my gosh. And Ed Norton
Yeah.
says, I felt like destroying something beautiful.
And that's a normal thing to
And
say.
that's, yeah, totally normal, totally fine. A little bit of a side eye, but that's okay. Also,
Mhm.
totally makes sense when you find out that he's the one who exploded his apartment in the first place at the beginning because he felt like destroying something beautiful. His apartment was beautiful. It's cultivated. Perfect.
Right.
Almost
Yeah.
complete.
He always talks about Tyler working these odd jobs in which he causes a ruckus, like the restaurant where he like pisses in the soup, which is insane.
Horrible, horrible thing to
It's
do.
so. But anyway, then like
And the
slowly
clam
as time
chowder?
goes on, it starts to be revealed that they're the same guy. And so then it's like, oh, so do you have insomnia or are you just working night jobs? And then you don't remember them in the morning and you think you just didn't sleep a wink. Like maybe he's just
Yeah.
stupid.
Do you have insomnia because you're working nights, or do you work nights because you have insomnia and you're not sleeping anyway? And also, are you stupid?
Yeah.
That's
It's
separate.
actually, yeah,
He is
so
dumb. I think we can all
he's
say that.
dumb because everything that
I
he does is so stupid and so clearly has like a better solution, morally better, fiscally better. Like there's no
Mhm,
reason for him to be doing any of the things that he's doing, except that
mhm.
he's driven mad that he can't have real life Brad Pitt because he doesn't exist.
Go to a gay bar. What's wrong with you?
Meet somebody else who's chiseled and blonde and be like, close enough. Like, figure it out.
And he's like, "How do you feel about bombing public buildings?" And I'm like, "Excuse me? That's perfect. Just settle
Yeah.
for that."
They're like, are you joking? Or kind of a weird
Yeah.
sense of humor on this guy.
Again, I will. I just think it's important to bring up that Tyler was not aiming for any casualties. They in fact planned to have no casualties, and
Right,
they were
right.
only going to explode the buildings as like a public statement and also to get rid of the credit debt and history.
Yeah. Seems
And
like maybe the method is wrong because that's just like a building that could have been used for another purpose.
uh-huh.
But, you know, they have kind of good intentions, this like anti-consumerism, like speaking for the people, seems like a grassroots initiative, but it is a terrorist organization because they're just constantly doing incredibly violent and bad things, as
Yeah.
much as they say that it's coming from a good place.
As
Yeah.
one thing I did like about Ed Norton is that I guess he's the narrator. I don't care. I'm gonna call him Ed Norton.
I felt
Um,
like the one note that I have about this movie, I understand that it's an adaptation of a book and that you need to have him kind of narrating his thought process because otherwise there's no way to figure out because he's so insane and stupid. But I
yeah.
did feel like the narration was a little heavy-handed sometimes. Where I was like,
Mm.
"Stop talking!" But that's also like I don't love a voiceover in movies anyway. So,
Mm. See, I liked it
yeah.
because I thought it was like I liked hearing his interpretation of his thoughts and emotions because for me, watching a movie, I'm like, Bestie, you're so off on that. Like in 1,000 different ways. He's, listing every single way he hopes Marla oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
They're
Nope.
curled up.
Yeah, they are. Oh my God. That's the
I
most
didn't
precious
mean
thing I've
to
ever seen in my
interrupt your
whole
sentence so
life.
much, but sometimes you just don't know how when they're gonna leave, so you have to do it when you can.
Yeah, you do. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, anyway, the narration. I thought it was just kind of fun because like you can see how unreliable he is to
Hmm.
himself. Like what else can we not trust about this? I
Right.
thought it was good.
And the answer is everything. Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
like it's well done and I understand why they did it and like etc. It's just that it's not my taste. I don't like it when people are talking. I'm not a podcast guy.
There were a lot of things in this movie that I really liked. Um, like the I am Jack's complete and utter lack of surprise. And
I did
I was
like
like,
that line a lot. And the boss is like,
that's really
huh?
what? And then he just goes on like just jabbers. And I could totally I was like, maybe I should start incorporating that into my like dictionary, my personal dictionary. And then I was like, you can't be doing
Yeah.
that. Can't be doing that because that's from Fight Club. And if people like I know it's a mainstream movie, but the type of people that are like very outspoken about liking Fight Club are quite frankly insufferable. And I do not want to be
Yeah.
associated outward. Like if someone else brings it up, I'll be like, oh hey, Fight Club, great movie, great movie. For those who
Yeah.
are still watching in this video, drop a comment down below if you also have an insufferable coworker slash classmate. We're very relatable, very yeah,
Yeah, we really have our finger on the pulse of society, frankly.
absolutely
We know
true.
we know what people are talking about.
Okay, couple things that are the last ones on my note is the you know the line where Bonham Carter that Brad Pitt is like, she says the craziest things to me, and she's like, I haven't had sex like that since I was in grade school. You know that line?
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, crazy
No, that
line.
is a crazy thing to say. Yeah.
Yeah, wild. Originally, it was going to be something else. Do you know what the original line was going to be?
No.
Okay, can I tell you?
Okay.
It was it's gonna be, I want to have your abortion.
So who changed it? Like, was she riffing, or was that another thing that, like, if we can't mention Starbucks, we
Oh,
definitely can't mention
I think
reproductive issues?
I think it was one of the producers. I think it was one of the executives that's like, you cannot say that. Change the line. And David Fincher's like, okay, I'll change the line, but
He
I'm
changed it
gonna
to
have it in
something.
writing that you are not allowed to change the line the second time. The second line is gonna stay in the movie. And they were like, yeah, fine, whatever. And so this then that was the line, and they were like, ah, that's worse. And he's like, too bad, you signed. So that's the one they kept in the movie. I want to have your abortion. That's so funny. I'm gonna die. Awesome. Awesome.
That's
Every
crazy.
version of
That's
this,
so
every potential
funny.
version of this movie that does not exist but could have existed is somehow just as good as the one that does exist. Most of the time, it's like there are a lot of like crappy movies or like medium movies that could be. I'm like, I can see I'm on the web and I can see a world where this movie has this thing changed and it's like really good. Like when we did The Lone Ranger, there are like a
Hmm.
million different options where the movie could be good. This
Hmm.
movie is just so good on its own. And also, I see a million different versions of this movie that are equally good, but like just different, like it's
Yeah, just different.
just different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it's just usually it's the ones that are lower quality that you feel like you have to change.
Hmm.
But I don't know, for some reason this one is like it's so good on its own. And also you can play pretend with it in your head. That's allowed. No one's gonna stop you.
Really?
I promise. None of those sociology police officers are gonna come and get you for it. Not yet, anyway. The last thing is two things actually is Brad Pitt and Ed Norton actually learned how to make soap in real life for this role. So
Uh-huh.
where
That's called method acting.
that's called method acting, absolutely. They are
Hmm.
in that role, living it, and not being Jared Leto, by the way. I don't think they
Hmm.
sent anybody dead rats on set. And also a little bit mad at them because why didn't they start a soap company together? Like a real one?
I know. All of these celebrities are making random companies together. It's like, how much more celebrity liquor do we need?
Yeah.
You need Brad Pitt and Ed Norton soap,
Nope.
obviously. You
Yeah.
need the pink soap.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't do it just like as a short-term gimmick after the movie, you know?
Right.
But no, they didn't do it at all. And that's really disappointing. And like, yeah, you don't actually have to use human liposuction fat. No one's making you do that.
Right. You can just make it the normal way.
The normal way. Yeah, without human fat.
And it's like,
The
oh, some beautiful poetry that we take women's fat and then sell it back to them. And you're like, I guess, like, why don't you get a different hobby? The problem with this guy, though, it's like
oh,
he's the only person in the world who has the problem of too many hobbies.
yeah, that's true.
He's going to all these support groups, he's pissing in soup, etc., etc. It's like
Why?
he needs to do fewer things. He needs to
Yeah.
stop having interests.
He
For
started a
most
fight.
people, the root of their problem is not having enough interests, not having any hobbies. He's got way too many
Yeah.
hobbies.
Yep, narrow it down. Yikes, dude. Come on, man. How does he even have the
Yeah,
time?
because he doesn't sleep. He just goes to the doctor and he's like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't put my finger on it. It's just that I feel like I've been awake for 24 hours. And the doctor's like, have you been awake for 24 hours? And he's like,
Oh.
how should I know? Ask my friend Tyler in the corner. He comes with me to everything.
Sometimes he tells me what to say.
Oh, interesting. Almost like you're thinking?
Hmm. My favorite part where he does that is when they're at the doctor and Ed's getting stitched up, and Tyler is there in the corner and he says, I fell down the stairs. And Ed says, I fell down the stairs.
Hmm.
Like, right out, I'm like, it's not like Tyler is whispering the things to say like he is with the conversation with Marla later. It's like he's in the room. So, according to Ed, doctors should be able to hear what Tyler says.
And then Ed's just like, yeah, I fell down the stairs. It's like, but you don't have to be like, yeah, I fell down the stairs. Immediately after somebody else says, fell down the
Going
stairs.
upstairs. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's weird. Weird.
Mhm.
My last note that I have here is Ed Norton thinking after Tyler has beat the crap out of him again for like the third time this movie, and he's
Mhm.
got the gun in his mouth, and he's like, for a second there, the only thing I could think was, how clean is that gun?
Suicide Grinch moment, perhaps.
More than ever. I think we have found the movie that perfectly captures the essence of the scene. I hadn't even watched it by the time I dreamt that. The
Mhm.
prophet. You see, I've been cursed and tormented with horrible visions.
Yeah, yeah. You can see scenes from movies, but they're superimposed onto other movies, so you don't know what to make of them. Like I had this thing where the Grinch, but he was in some sort of parking garage.
Did I ever tell you, by the way, about my sequel to that dream? Well, okay, it was the end of the same movie, same version of the movie, I guess, where he has pushed the sled onto the top of Mount Crumpet and balanced it just enough where it's teetering over the edge.
Hmm.
He's tying the rope around the front of the sled and then the other end around his neck so that he's gonna jump off. And it's just enough to push the sled over the top, and then if the thing doesn't snap his neck and kill him, then the sled will fall on top of him and crush him. And I watched the other scenes happen exactly as they do in the movie, where Cindy Lou Who's father is like, I'm proud of her. She, like, this, none of this is what Christmas is. I have everything I need, my family. And then the Grinch is like measuring the noose.
Yeah.
And in the dream, I didn't remember the other part of it. Well, no, I remembered the other part of the movie, but it wasn't like I remember it like, oh, this is like my dream, Suicidal Grinch. It was like I'm
Right.
watching them. I'm like, how many times is he gonna try? Is he actually gonna do it this time? Is that how the movie's gonna end? And I don't know. I woke up before
Like I don't want to see
he was
this
fitting the noose.
beloved cartoon character. I don't want to see it.
So,
Man. That's awesome. Like it isn't, but kind of. Yeah.
how often do you get a sequel to a dream?
I
Like,
do pretty often, but it's never about Suicide Grinch, so it kind of doesn't even count.
there are a lot of dreams I've had that I wake up and I'm like, that was so cool. Like, I can't believe I had that dream. There are others, like that one, where I wake up and I'm like, I didn't know I hated myself.
Yeah.
Like, why would my brain provide this for me? Like last night I
Yeah.
had a really cool one that was like post-apocalyptic. There were like giant metal spider crabs, and you had to find a specific alloy that would deactivate them. It was like really cool. And also I was like hunkering down in a gas station and trying to find like food that was not expired. And there was a lot of it because there's a lot of food in gas stations that just don't expire. So it was great.
Mhm.
So, I could be having adventures.
If only God loved you, I guess.
I do feel like the other day when we were talking, I had so much more to say about the movie. And
Mhm.
now that we're talking again, I
I don't think I've even seen it, you know?
no, like that's it. What do you want
Yeah.
from us?
Yeah. They're like 3 more hours. Except really, usually people watch the first 4 minutes of our videos.
That's
And then
that's
they're
how
like,
long they last.
that's
we're good.
enough.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even. I think we usually hit about 20 before we even start to talk about the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't blame
Yeah.
them. It's not even like
Yes,
our
it's like no
analysis isn't
wonder.
any good. It's like they can't even make it to the analysis.
You're right. They're like, what even is this? Inside joke I don't understand. Keep talking about this guy Chase. Who is that? Shut up. Get away from the jokes. Nobody wants to hear the jokes. We're here for movie.